are continuing with our integer studies. And so with that, we're going to be looking at an application of how to use integers. And to use integers, we're going to be using them on a graphing. And I don't know if you guys have studied this in the past or not, but looking at graphing on the coordinate plane. And so with that, we're going to be using both positive and negative. So maybe you've studied graphing in the past with just positives. We are going to go into both the positive and the negatives. So here are just some introductory definitions that you need to copy down. So take a few minutes to make sure you get each of these down. And I'm going to go through and kind of explain them as you should be writing these down. So the x-axis is just the horizontal axis. So all the x values are going to go left and right. And so the x-axis is that main axis that goes across the middle, that goes horizontally left and right. The y-axis then is perpendicular to the x-axis, and it's the vertical axis. So all your y values are going to go up and down. The origin is the intersection of those two, so it's right in the middle. And I'm going to show you here a graph here in a second to describe all these different pieces. But the origin is the point right in the middle of the graph. And the ordered pair is just a pair of numbers that describes the location of a coordinate point. So we're going to have two numbers there, both an x number and a y number, an x value and a y value, that's going to describe points. So again, take a few minutes to make sure you have all those copied down. And if I move too fast, again, you can always pause the video, copy the definitions, and then go ahead and push play again in case I don't give you enough time to copy down what you need to get down. I am now going to go ahead and move us to this graph that I have over here. And I'm going to use this just to kind of show you some of the main pieces of the graph. So again, we have our x-axis, which goes horizontally this way. So I'm going to go ahead and label that for you just for now. I won't always label that, but I'm going to label it for now. So that's our x-axis, and then we have our y-axis. And then we have four sections here. Each of these four sections have a name. They're called quadrants. And we use Roman numerals to describe those. So this would be quadrant 1. I'm going to put that. So we have quadrant 1. Then we have, and it moves counterclockwise. So then we have quadrant 2. And then we move down here and we have quadrant 3. And the last one is quadrant 4. So those are the Roman numeral representations of those. Again, we have our origin here in the middle, and we label that as 0, 0, because it's no x's and no y's. And then to go around and to label any ordered pair, what you're going to do, for instance, if I gave you the pair 5, 4, 5 is the x value. So if we're looking at points, it's always going to go x and then y. So x first and then y, alphabetically, if you want to view it that way. So if I give you the point 5, 4 to plot, we'd count over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then move up 1, 2, 3, 4. And so our point here would be 5, 4, and that's the coordinate 5, 4. Sometimes they'll give them letter names or whatever, but we don't have to do that for now. So to the right is positive, and up is positive. To the left is going to be the negative x's, and down is going to be the negative y's. So we have 1, 2, 3 going this way, 1, 2, 3 going this way. This way is going to be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And down here we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And then so on and so forth, continuing down. So if I gave you the coordinate, we'll say negative 4, 5. So we'll go kind of opposite of what that one was. We count backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it's a negative x, but a positive y. And so this would be the coordinate negative 4, 5. And that would be in quadrant 2. So sometimes they may ask you just to look at a point and to identify where that location is. So again, go ahead and copy down just kind of that basic graph. If you have graph paper and want to use it, that's awesome. If you don't, you can use the little hash marks like I did, just to kind of give yourselves the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in every direction. But make sure you have those things labeled with the quadrants and the x-axis and the y-axis and the points and such. Alright, again, if you need more time, pause the video. But I'm going to go ahead and erase these things, because I'm going to give us a list of points, and I'm going to give you a few minutes, or you're going to take a few minutes, to go ahead and graph these points on a coordinate plane. So go ahead and draw yourselves, if you don't have graph paper, draw yourselves a graph. If you do have graph paper, just label the big axes on it. We'll explain that kind of in class too. But I'm going to give you a list of points with letters. And I want you to go ahead and graph these points. And when you graph them, I'll show you how to do the first one. When you graph them, you can just put the letter beside it. You don't have to put the whole point if they give them letters. So we have 5 different points here. I'm going to graph the first one with you. So again, negative 7, 3. X comes first, so I'm going to go negative 7 on my x-axis. So I'm here. And then I want to go up 3 because it's a positive 3. So when I go up 3, we're going to be about here. And I'm just going to put A beside that. And that's all you have to do. So you start with the x, then go to the y, and you plot your point. These aren't two different points, this is one point. You don't label one here and one here, those are all one point. So go ahead and take a minute or two and graph the next 4 of those. And then once you have a minute to do that, I'll go and put them up there so you can check your work. And so that should be about the relative location of each of those points. So you want to double check your work to make sure that you are in the same spot as I am. And here I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see those just a little bit closer. So you can double check yourselves. So make sure that you're accurate, and this is why graph paper would be better. So if you have graph paper, fantastic. If not, we can get you some. Because it will be a little better if you're doing these actually on graph paper to be a little more exact. And that is all we have to. That's all the main information. Now tomorrow in class we will talk about this a little more in detail and go over any questions you guys may have. And then we will also do the practice problems tomorrow in class.